Today's date is August 20th, 2003. This is the New Westminster Sports Oral History Project. Today's interviewee is Doug Manning. So, Mr. Manning, what is your full name?
Douglas Arthur Manning.
And what's your date and place of birth?
I was born in Vancouver on May 21st, 1933.
And your marital status?
Married.
Do you have any children or grandchildren?
I have one daughter, 3 sons, and 9 grandchildren.
Good. Where were your parents from?
They were both born in England.
And so they came straight over to BC, is that right?
Not quite. My mother lived for a short while on the prairies in Regina, but they met and married in Vancouver.
Hmm. And so, did you grow up in Vancouver then?
Yes, I grew up in Vancouver.
Right. Please tell me your current address.
My current address is 35 Courtney Crescent, City of New Westminster, British Columbia, postal address E3L4M1.
Good. And how long have you been here?
37 years.
Oh, so quite a while then.
Yeah.
Right. When you first began playing sports, how old were you?
Well, it goes right back to the time when I was in elementary school. I found sports very rewarding, and I played as much as I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that at the time, probably about 11, 12 years old.
11, 12 years old. And that would have been organized sport, is that right?
Yes. Organized through the school, inter-school
right.
competitions, and then starting out playing elementary, low division soccer.
Soccer. So soccer was outside the school system,
yes,
is that right?
Yes, it was.
Right. So how old were you when you began with soccer then?
About 12.
About 12. Which sort of sports did you play?
Well, I played softball or fastball, as it's now known, soccer, basketball, and basically that's it.
That's about it. And that was through elementary school. Did you continue these sports into high school?
Basketball I didn't play until high school, but
okay.
I continued. It was soccer through high school. Softball and I played a little bit of baseball was at the high school.
Oh, I see.
And outside of high school too.
Right, in the local league sort of thing, or?
Yes, YMCA and then the Vancouver District Leagues.
Right. Did you ever play, if you grew up in Vancouver, did you ever play in New Westminster at all?
Yes, played the soccer over here against Westminster teams. Played basketball against New Westminster teams.
In the high schools?
In the high schools, and played against the odd softball game, not in the formal league, but maybe an exhibition game.
Oh, I see. Right. Which, of those sports, which would you say you were best at, or were your favorites?
Well, I think I was best at basketball, and then probably soccer. I was a relatively good athlete in all, and
right.
I played baseball. Played
right.
reasonably well at that level.
Right. Tell me a little bit about what positions you played in these different sports.
Well, starting in basketball, I played center and forward.
Okay.
And in soccer, I played either striker, or as it was known in those days, center forward, or center back, which is, or center half, as it was known in the old days.
Oh, okay. Right. And let's start with basketball then. Was it because of your height that you were center, or?
Well, yes, I was at certain times I was the tallest one on the team. Other times I was above second titles, but my natural position would have been forward,
right?
Not center.
Oh, I see.
Far too short to play center.
Right. And obviously you enjoyed it and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about the facilities that were around at the time. First with basketball.
Well, basketball, I went to high school in John Oliver in Vancouver, and they were blessed with a good gymnasium facilities. And when I left school, district leagues, and they were also blessed with pretty good basketball facilities in the new gyms that were starting to come online in the 50s, and that they weren't too bad. They were pretty good. And then, of course, the best gym in the round at that time was the UBC War Memorial Gym.
Oh, right.
Which was up to date for that time facility.
And that's where they had the championships. Is that right?
Yes, most of them. We played one tournament in New Westminster at the Vincent Massey Junior High School. That was a very up-to-date facility.
Okay.
We played one tournament there.
Right. And what about soccer? What was it like with soccer?
The facilities weren't quite so good. There were very few all-weather fields. You either played on the muddy grass field or you played on the sand gravel field.
Right. There
weren't too many first-class fields up to today's standards. Callister Park was where the Vancouver District Soccer League senior men's played, and it was a gravel patch. There was no grass.
Oh, really?
It was a sand gravel field.
And how far did you go in soccer?
Well, I played up until I was about 22. I broke an ankle playing softball, sliding into a base, and it never healed properly, and so my left foot became rather useless at kicking a soccer ball, so I had to quit playing soccer.
Oh, really?
So I played quite a lot of soccer and played on a team of 21 under, which won a championship for Canada against other teams from other provinces. And that was back in 1951.
And so you won the Canadian Championship.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, it was an experiment that they had arranged, and teams from the country got together, and we happened to win the tournament. And I played for a Vancouver team, which was a pretty fair team. I played one game in the Coast League, and the senior men's league.
Oh, yeah.
I played about 20 minutes, I think it was a game. But no, I didn't carry on because my ankle was not in good enough shape.
And is that fair to say with other games or teams?
No, I played basketball right up all the way through. I could play basketball and that I could find the ankle up and it didn't hurt. But the soccer I couldn't kick a ball.
Right.
So I played basketball in the senior men's league up until I was about 26, 27, and then I was a student of chartered accountancy, and it got too much. I had to quit and study. I had a living to make. And then I went back and started playing recreational basketball when I was about 36, 37.
Oh, really?
And that was with people from New Westminster, and played in a league which comprised people from Westminster, Coquitlam, and Surrey.
Right. So you were living here by then?
I was living here by then.
What were, I've heard a lot of accounts about basketball during the high school years. It was a really popular sport. High schools were really into it. Now, in the senior, or in these men's leagues, at the mid-30s, what was basketball like then?
Well, it was recreational level. For me at that age, there were still some people that played in the senior men's league, the Premier League or the Elite League, who played a pretty serious brand of basketball. However, they weren't competitive with the American teams and nature. At one time, University of BC was competitive with the American universities, say University of Washington and so forth, but that passed, and the American universities went far ahead of the Canadian.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
And they very much superior.
Right. Did you play basketball while you were in high school, in university?
No, I did. I didn't go to the university at that time. I went to 1 year university, then I went to a form of articleship for a chartered accountant.
Oh, I see. So it's different.
It's different than it is now. Today you have to have a university degree to get into chartered accounting.
Oh,
in those days you have to have a first year university and then a 5-year term of articles.
So it's still a long time.
Yeah, well, with no money.
What were the people like that you played basketball with here in New Westminster? Was it competitive or?
It was any game where you put 10 fellows, like 5 on each side, against each other with the object to put the ball through a hoop. It becomes competitive.
I bet. Yeah.
And the sports are not any fun really unless they are competitive. If you play sports, there's no such thing as just playing for fun. You play for fun, but you also you want to win.
Right.
Or else it isn't a game.
Right.
And so it's competitive basically at any level you play the sport.
Right.
And, successful coaches in that are successful because they instill in their players that it is competitive.
I see. And did you guys have coaches at that level?
When I was in high school, we did. And when I played in the Men's Elite League in Vancouver, yes, we had coaches. They were quite knowledgeable.
Right.
Had probably either coached at university level or high school level and better.
We talked earlier about in basketball, you were in a couple of major BC tournaments.
Yes, unfortunately, this was when I was in high school in John Oliver, Vancouver. We had the good fortune to get into the finals 2 years in a row, 1950 and 1951. But unfortunately, we had the bad fortune of meeting Duke Connaught from U.S. Men's in the finals, and they beat us both years.
Oh, really?
And so we were runner-up twice. We were competitive, but no cigar.
Right. And would that have been an all-star team, or were you on all-star teams as well? Or
I was on an all-star team after they picked the players for whether they're on the all-star team, so from the tournament. But that was after the tournament was over.
Right, and so an all-star team was formed. Why?
Oh, it was just an honor for the people that played. Who played well. It was just,
right. So the BC champions didn't go on to play in Canada?
No, not anymore. Not in high school.
No, right. Okay, what about some other sports here in New Westminster? I mean, you've been here for quite a few years. Do you recall watching or being a spectator of any of these?
Yes, I was involved at an executive level for the Salmon Valley lacrosse team, both the juniors and the seniors.
Oh, okay.
For quite a period of time. Two of my sons played lacrosse right through. One of them played on 2 Man Cup or Canadian Championship teams, and was also coach of the senior Salmon Valley for a year. So I was involved with the association of the team executive as their treasurer for a number of years. And I just retired 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Position.
Right. So your sons were involved, you were involved. Tell me about that experience, being involved in a team that serious.
Well, it was quite rewarding because it was not an easy thing to keep that team on the floor. Money is always a problem for amateur sports, getting sufficient funds to continue and play the game and pay the expenses that are required. At those days, and maybe it's lower now, Victoria was in the league, and to go in Victoria, you had to fly over because the guys had to go to work the next day.
Right.
It cost $1,400 or $1,500 to go on an airplane. You had to have a chartered airplane because you had to go over there and back for a game during the week. So I guess fundraising was always a problem.
Right.
And from my point of view, but the other people associated with the teams, selecting players and running the team with the coaches is quite a time-consuming thing.
I bet.
It's quite rewarding to be there, particularly when you're older, like I was in my 50s, but I guess about 50 when I started in the executive. You meet these young fellows and these young players, and it's really quite rewarding to see and talk to these people and their attitudes. They're not just a bunch of jocks. Most of them are quite intelligent young men.
Right. And they think about things.
Yeah, they do. They have different perspective, but yeah, they're pretty good young men.
Would most of these people have been from New Westminster, these players?
A lot of them would, but some of them would be for couples from Vancouver, Richmond, or Coquitlam. It's all from this area.
Right.
And the odd one would come out from the east and play for the team.
Right.
They get them a job or something of that nature.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. And so while you're doing this, I mean, you're working for the city as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like to have your children play in such prestigious teams like this?
Well, you're always very proud of them, and of course, particularly if they're successful. But I was proud of them. Only one played at the senior level for long. One played at the senior B level. But yeah, it's very rewarding. You have to be careful that you don't forget that they're your children and not. You have to learn how to behave yourself too as a parent at these games, and that's a problem that I didn't have, but a lot of people do have. When their kids are playing, they get brought up in the game, and their behavior lacks a little decorum. And no, it's fun really to go and watch. Right. I'm now watching my grandchildren play.
Oh yeah,
they play lacrosse. So.
Oh really?
So they play locally. They're having a good time.
So there's a bit of a sports legacy going on here now.
Yeah, there's a few Mannings of the play.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me a little bit what it was like when you first came out. What was it like watching these games and the sports community here in New Westminster?
Well, when your kids first start playing, you have to realize that particularly if you played yourself, that there's a real big learning curve. You got to realize that these kids are new and they want to play, but they don't know how to play.
Right.
And as a parent, you've got to sort of help them, but you don't want to get involved between them and their coach. So it's for a person that's played a lot, you have to be careful that you don't get over involved and let the kids wend their own way through the thing.
Right.
Help them if they ask you questions, but you don't push them.
Right. Did you ever coach or ref or anything like that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, particularly in soccer and a little bit of baseball umpiring when the kids were young.
When the kids were young.
Yeah.
So was that obviously that was volunteer position? That was here in New Westminster as well.
Yeah, that was all here.
Right. Describe to me what sort of the soccer community was like here in New Westminster.
Well, during when we first came here, this local soccer community was a bit in the doldrums.
Oh, I see.
And our kids played initially. We lived here, but there wasn't a team really for them, and they actually played in Burnaby Lake City.
Oh.
And then just shortly after that, the New Westminster Soccer Association started to reform itself. And they started getting a very good level of coaches and so forth being brought in, and really developed the New Westminster Soccer Association from a very low point in the late 60s to where it is today, and it's pretty good.
It's pretty popular now.
And certainly they have both the boys and the girls playing, and then they play a pretty competitive brand.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me that soccer is getting more and more popular anyways.
Well, it's a very easy sport to equip a team. The cost of getting a player on the field is minuscule compared to what hockey is, and some of the other sports. The amount of money you spend on hockey equipment is just a stick costs you $15.
Yeah.
And the pads and everything. Soccer, a pair of boots, and you get a pair of shorts and a t-shirt from the team. You buy a pair of shin guards, and away you go.
Yeah, that's about it. Eh? Yeah.
And that's quite a saving for kids. Particularly, it allows parents that don't have too much money to have their kids participate.
Mm. Do you have any memories, obviously you have memories, but do you have any memories that stick out for you of watching some of these games, whether it was soccer or lacrosse in the past? What was it like?
Well, the games were pretty exciting, particularly the lacrosse games. I remember one year the senior both team was playing an Eastern team for the Man Cup, and it was the seventh and deciding game of the series, and the score was tied, and the Eastern team took a shot at the goal. Our goaltender stopped the ball, and it was laying loose in the crease, and one of our own players knocked it in the goal, and we lost the game 6-5 in the series. That was a real downer, but it was really quite exciting. To see it. Unfortunately, we got the wrong result, but
right.
But it was really quite an exciting time.
Do you remember watching from a Man Cups being won or anything like that?
Oh, that's with the team that we had here. Won a couple of Man Cups at home.
Mm-hmm.
Won one back east, which is very difficult to do.
Right.
Winning anything in Ontario, politically or otherwise, is very difficult.
So what would the community be like? What would New Westminster be like when there's a championship game and we win?
Well, it was acknowledged. The city council used to acknowledge them. They would have a dinner for them or something of this nature. The games in the Man Cup during the year, the crowds are small, but during the Man Cup, the old arena here would be pretty well full.
Yeah.
Or full. And it was pretty exciting. The fans were pretty good and loud and noisy, which is what you expected of this type of games. It was well done.
Yeah. And would you have like mascots and halftime shows, things like that?
Yeah, they would often have a band playing or something of this nature. They would have and still do a little type play a little mini game between periods and so forth and things of that nature.
Yeah. Okay, so you started working. When did you start working for New Westminster?
1957.
And what did you start working as?
I was just had graduated as a chartered accountant, so I started working with the city about a year after graduation as the city accountant.
Okay. And then you ended up being city administrator, is that right?
Yeah, I went through the positions of being accountant and then deputy treasurer, and then treasurer for a very short period of time. Then the former administrator died, and I got his position. So that was back in about 71, I guess. 71,
and then you were there for how long?
21, 22 years, something like that.
Something like that.
I retired in 93.
93, right. So describe to me what it was like bringing the 1973 Canada Games here.
Well, it was something that, and to give credit to the people that got the idea, Muni Evers was mayor of the city of New Westminster at the time. He was the mayor for quite some time, on city council for quite some time. And he was a pharmacist in town. He and a fellow named Rick Taylor, who was a publisher of the Columbian newspaper, and somebody else, he was named Don Benson, I think he was also, they got the idea that we put in a bid for the Canada Summer Games, and the Canada Summer Games had only been held once before, I think, and that was in Halifax.
Oh, really? Okay.
At this time. And so they made a pitch. Well, they created a community, a group of people who put together a presentation to Ottawa, who selected the host community, and lo and behold, the city of Westminster were granted it. Then the real work then started, and a new, as like in a lot of volunteer organizations, the original people, the idea people left, and the workers came in to put it together.
Right.
And there was a 1973 Salmon Summer Games management committee, which consisted of appointees from both Burnaby and Westminster. And I should mind that the bid was a bid jointly sponsored by the city of New Westminster and the district of Burnaby. So two municipalities. So there's a management committee consisting of members from both Burnaby and New Westminster appointed to run the games, to make sure the facilities were ready, the logistics of the games and the sports, and then the proper okay, protocols for the sports were created, and it was really a lot of work. They had a professional staff or people that were paid staff of about 4 or 5 people, professional staff that were, because this was before the game started. It was about 2 years before. We had about 2 years to prepare.
Right.
And or 3 years, I guess it was. So we had a professional staff, but the management committee, who were basically people from the community. There was an alderman from Burnaby, a councillor from Burnaby, and a councillor from Westminster. The Burnaby municipal manager was on the committee. I, as the city administrator, was on the committee, and then there were other citizens at large. There was a chartered accountant who practiced with one of the international firms. He became the treasurer of the organization, and there's a lawyer. He was there. You need all these people with a thing this high, and it was just a great experience. The chairman of this committee was a fellow that was retiring from Dairyland. And he was, his name was Bill Ramsell, and Dairyland allowed him to retire early at full salary and work for the summer games full time. It was quite a contribution.
Really? Yeah.
And, they kept him on there, but in fact, he was retired as far as the company was concerned officially, but they kept his payments on. So it was a great time. It took a lot of hard work by a lot of people to put the games together, particularly logistically, and get the facilities ready. The Canada Games pool was built. Swangar Stadium was redone, a new track. And Burnaby Lake rowing course was done, which has been a bit of a controversy ever since. But there was new lighting put in the Queen's Park Stadium and the Queen's Park Arena, and all these things to upgrade the facilities so they could have a good level of competition for the Canada Summer Games.
Do you find, in terms of facilities, obviously the games are successful. I mean, that's a legacy that the games have left, right?
Yes, they have.
In other ways, how are the games successful?
Well, I think they brought the community into it. The numbers of people that volunteered as help to help put on the games at all the different venues. The people that volunteered to help let's say the person that supplied all the food, the food services. The number of people that volunteered to help in there. People that volunteered. Firemen from Vancouver volunteered to drive cars and buses and
really? Yeah.
It was a very good community operation.
Right.
And they really, it's amazing. You wonder when you hear people speak apathetically of what government does, but how much they supported it on a venture like that.
Right. The provincial government, you mean?
Or the local government, or any government.
Any government.
The people are basically anti-government in the way they talk. But when push comes to shove, they, particularly in the athletic world, they really put out.
Right.
It was a very wonderful experience for people to have participated in.
Right. So it sounds like it was a successful project. Totally.
Yes, it was. And there was a sum of money to both. It ran at a surplus to both the city of New Westminster and Burnaby, up somewhere I can't remember exactly, but about $100,000 each to each community as a cash legacy left over from the game.
She actually made money.
Well, we had some money left over. I think there's a difference in what that means.
Right. Wow, that's great. I've heard people talk about the 73 games even now. Do you think it raised awareness of New Westminster to the rest of Canada? And do you think, we'll start with that question.
Well, I think it certainly did. It raised the awareness that the games were held here and what the games were. I think one other thing, the teams came from each province.
Right.
Like it was the BC team in Alberta, Saskatchewan. Every province had a team. And so it wasn't a Westminster team or a Burnaby team. It was a provincial team.
I see.
The athletes could have come from any place in BC.
Right.
And they did. But yes, I think the communities, Westminster and Burnaby became well known to the people in the athletic world because we did raise the bar on the standards for the games. It was one of the first games, and of course the standards may be even higher now, but at the time it was done very well.
And what about for the people of New Westminster? How do you think that impacted them?
Well, I think they quite enjoyed it. I think that the number of people in the community that volunteered was quite astounding.
Was it?
Yeah. And there was a lot of people involved, and the people, as I maybe haven't said, the Games Society, and it was a registered society, took over the schools, and that, with the help of the armed forces who supplied bunks and beds and blankets, we made that the Olympic type village.
Oh yeah.
2 schools, and converted them into dormitories, and the rooms, took out the desks and put in the beds, and one school was girls, one school was boys. Hopefully they stayed there, but I'm not too sure they all did. And the cafeterias in the schools were used by the caterer to supply meals to the kids and the athletes, and not all kids by any stretch of imagination. A lot of talent that helped put on. The manager of the local radio station came on board in the executive committee to help put on the opening ceremonies and the closing ceremonies and things of this nature. It was a big undertaking, and for a community of Burnaby at that time was probably about 200,000, a little less, and we were 50,000 or less. So it was not, we weren't large communities, very populous communities, but yeah, we put on quite a show.
Since then, has the population changed drastically in these 2 towns?
Well, Burnaby is, I think, probably up closer to 300,000 now, and Westminster is getting close to 60, I guess.
Right.
I don't know exactly, but the populations have increased.
Yeah. What about the people who participated in games as athletes? What was that like for them?
Well, most of them were they were a level of athletes. They weren't Olympic standard athletes.
Right.
If they had competed at that level, they couldn't compete in the Canada Summer Games.
Oh, really?
So there was a limitation on the level of the competition, of the qualifications of the athletes. So we were looking at a level of athletes who hadn't really been Canadian champions or anything of this nature at the time. The games weren't designed to take over all the Canadian championships, the existing championships. So in my opinion, maybe digressing a little bit now, but in my opinion, it was a level of competition below the national caliber.
So would it have been more young people then?
There was a lot of young people, but some of the sports were older people. I can't remember how many sports now, but there was a lot of them. Most of them were young people, yes.
Any young people problems?
Very little, but yeah, there were some. There's always going to be some, but there were no real problems of vandalism, a little bit of damage, but very little. There were very little behavior problems. There were no semi-riots or problems. No, there was nothing like that. And that's nice to know. Mind you, the Game Society made it quite clear through each of the people that were head of it, each single sport, that the people knew that if they misbehaved, they just got sent home. So, and there was very little that happened. Maybe one or two people got sent home. That's it. It was actually, we were very lucky. When you see what happens sometimes today. I remember at the end of the games, we had all this stuff left over with 1973 Canada Summer Games, paraphernalia, books and maps and things. And rather than have them sort of tear down the dormitories, we put this all into a place in the school board office in Westminster and put a sign on there, do not touch.
Oh yeah.
And the kids took it all home as samples or mementos of the game.
Right.
It was
right.
I can't remember whose idea it was, but it was a great idea. And no, it was to us who were there and part of it, we really felt a job that we'd done a great job, and we had a great deal of satisfaction from being part of that group.
As a city administrator, you must have been involved in many different events. Any other sort of sports events that stick out in your mind over the past years?
Well, that was the biggest one.
That was
the biggest one that we were involved in. And since that time, they'd had another one. There was a seniors games held in New Westminster after I retired. And they were successful also.
They were. Yeah.
They had to run volunteers and so forth. I wasn't involved in it, but the people that did run that, again, they ran a good show, and it's amazing and it's very rewarding to see how people volunteer for these things and how they really will put out because they do feel it's important to the community.
Right. Tell me a little bit about, in the past, what were the people in, say, your neighborhood in Vancouver like? Did everybody get involved in sports? Was it a big deal for everybody?
I came from the east side of Vancouver, and a lot of the kids got involved in sports. The parent participation, particularly on the east side of Vancouver, wasn't very great.
Right. Just because they're always working and
they're working, and the east side of Vancouver is not New Westminster.
Right.
They were proud of their kids if they played, but the different sections of Vancouver played different sports. Like the east side of Vancouver, large Italian community at that time, they played soccer.
Right.
But they didn't play anything else. Or
right.
they played a little bit of lacrosse, but most basically soccer. And Vancouver was really classed as the big city then. They had good lacrosse teams and they had baseball teams. And, they were starting to get to the level of professional athletes, sports coming in. And once that comes in, that's a very select group of people that really participate in professional sports. You might go watch it or something, but you don't get involved in any more than that level.
Right. Did you notice a difference, say, you played a game in Vancouver, a soccer game in Vancouver, and then you later played a soccer game in New Westminster? Was there a difference in the audience between the two towns?
Probably a bigger audience here.
Here?
In New Westminster. Really? Because, as I said, in Vancouver, it was broken down in many communities like Point Grey, Kerrisdale, and East Vancouver, South Vancouver. Those communities, they were unique actually.
I've heard a few people that I've talked to mention rivalries with Vancouver.
Oh yes, there was.
You were on the Vancouver side. What were the rivalries like?
They were quite keen. There was great rivalry in lacrosse, particularly. Rivalry in the Vancouver Bards lacrosse team and the New Westminster Sandwich lacrosse team. Yeah, they had a pretty good rivalry going on right from the 30s right through to the 80s when the Vancouver team folded and went out to Maple Ridge or something. But that was a keen rivalry.
Was it? Yeah.
The ice hockey, it was professional, but there was a keen rivalry between the Vancouver Canucks and the New Westminster Royals hockey team.
Oh,
there was a keen rivalry there.
Really?
Yeah. and particularly amongst the fans. The Westminster fans supported their Westminster Royals hockey team quite strongly for a city that was really quite, tenth the size of Vancouver, almost, or that. It really did support their team.
And how would that sort of look?
Well, I think the people there, they got very much excited when they played Vancouver, and the level of support for the teams really was quite astounding. For a team to be able to have a professional hockey team in a city this size, that's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
It's, you get all those players, you're paying all those players, and it's you have to have the fan support to do that.
Right. What did you enjoy most about sports?
I liked the sense of competition and playing. I liked to win. I liked the competition. I also enjoyed the association, particularly after you played, league for a while. You got to know these other people, and you make a lot of friends. I've known a lot of people, and played against a lot of people. And today, I still know who they are and where they are, and if we see each other, we're still friends.
Right.
The friendship that you can get from athletics and sports is a lasting one. Even that you may be, when you played against each other, you really didn't like each other when you played. But that goes into the past, and you just remember the good things.
Right. I've heard people talk about playing a game and being almost enemies on the field, and then afterwards going to the pub.
Well, right, that's rugby. That's English rugby, and that's expected that you play English rugby, because my boys played. I didn't play it, but they played it, and they would play down at Hume Park and knock the heck out of each other. And then after the game was over, they'd all go down to the clubhouse for the local team, or if they were away, they'd go to their clubhouse and sit and have drinks and beer.
Really?
That was sort of expected, and this was First Division rugby in the Lower Mainland, and that was what they did.
Right. Now, was rugby a popular sport?
Yeah, rugby is a popular sport with those who played it.
I see.
It wasn't a popular spectator sport unless you happened to have played a lot of it. It is a popular sport here for a number of years. We had a team here. I don't know why it was called Pocomo, but it was. That was a contraction of Port Moody, Port Coquitlam, and Coquitlam, and they didn't have a field, so they got to play on Saffron Field in New Westminster. So they stayed in New Westminster for quite some time, and then Douglas College came along, and they had a rugby team. So we had two rugby teams in New Westminster.
Oh, okay.
And then they played against Vancouver and Surrey, and that was quite popular.
Right.
They're still alive. The Pocomo and Douglas College, they're still playing.
Are they?
And yeah, they're still playing.
Tell me about. You've mentioned quite a few sort of memorable events. Any other sort of significant championships or wins or anything that stick out in your mind that you'd like to talk about?
Not personally. I can win too many things.
What about some that you've watched with your children or just in the community?
Oh, I don't know if there's anything that stick out more than others. Some of the more memorable things are things that the younger children play when you watch them play for a provincial championship, or grandchildren, and they play. And I think what I've learned, I'm mellowed, I guess, but that it isn't really what you do, because I like to win, but it's really the enjoyment out of being able to say I was there and I played, whether I won or lost, as you get older, it doesn't really matter. And so as you get older, you really say, you know, that was a lot of fun.
Right.
And we didn't win, but really, who cares now? It's 30 years later, and it was a great time.
You mentioned friendships. Have you had any friendships formed through sports that you've maintained over the years?
Yeah. Got a very good friend who played basketball with me, and we're still friends today.
Really?
We see each other. We see each other socially still. Another friend, married a girlfriend of my wife's, but we played baseball together, and we're still friends today.
Right.
And it's amazing. And other people in Westminster, used to be a guy who was a big, strong guy. He used to he played defensive end for the BC Lions after Ken Swallow. He was a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And we played basketball against him. He's still a personal friend of mine today.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you meet these people, you play against them, and somehow our paths never cease. We're still on the same path. We still enjoy each other's company.
Do you think that the geographical sort of situation of New Westminster and Coquitlam and things like that have helped maintain these friendships in any way?
I don't know whether that has. Because the communities have really quite changed in the last few years.
Oh, they have they?
Yeah, the communities have changed. The ethnic mix has changed. And just the sheer volume, like Delta has grown. Surrey has become virtually the largest municipality in the province now. They've probably got more people than Vancouver. And it is, right. It's like Vancouver. It's a lot of different components all together as one.
Right.
I think the population shifting. For athletics, the population shift, other than the university, or UBC, it's not dominant in sports anymore.
Right. So it's not a priority like it used to be.
No, and I think that's as a result of the population mix.
Right.
The population mix in most of the competitive athletics now is gone to the west, east.
Gone to the east,
where the population growth is taking place.
Right. And so do you think that east means across the river or back east?
No, back east across the river or up the valley.
Oh, okay.
Right. Burnaby, New Westminster. The population shift is gone out to the east, and that's where most of the athletics are played now, or the championship are played.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. What impact has sports had on your personal life, or your life in general?
Oh, I think it's been a great outlet for entertainment and outlet. My wife she played basketball when she was in high school and so forth. She was interested in athletics, and our sons and family are. They've been quite a large part of our life. We enjoyed playing it, and we enjoyed watching good competition, and we enjoy some of the people we have met through it. It's been a large part of our life, in our social life. It hasn't been the only part of our social life, but it has been a large part. We've watched a lot of games together with our family and friends,
right?
And participated in. Most of the games I played were team games, not individual games.
Right.
I didn't play much golf or tennis or any of this thing. I played mostly team games.
Right.
And I think you meet a lot of people, and you have a lot more fond memories of the past through the sports than bad memories, because we had a good time.
Right. Even losing the BC.
All right, story of my mind. If I'd done this, we could have done that. But no, it's just, and I was probably a pretty brash young fellow at the time too, and I probably created as much problem as anybody else out there. But the high school teachers that we had in those days were very good. Ken Byte, you probably heard about him. He was good for New Westminster. He was I had a coach in Vancouver. His name was Cyril Nixon. He was a basketball coach and soccer coach, and they really helped us as kids. Coming from the east side of Vancouver, it wasn't the more affluent parts of Vancouver, and we got an awful lot of help from our school teachers.
Right. That's great. I mean, you've mentioned a little bit about how sports has sort of spread out into the valley quite a bit and stuff. Do you think that sports is still important to a city like New Westminster?
I think it's important to a city because I think it's part of an environment which helps develop kids, and I think that's really what we're looking for here. We're interested in creating a total community rather than a specialist. And with sports as one, dancing and the arts are other, but you need all these parts to have a well-balanced community. And I've been really pleased that a couple of my granddaughters, they don't live in Westminster, but they just live on the borders. They're taking out dancing clubs and things of this nature. So, and the sports for the other people, I think they're important. And I don't think they diminished at all. If anything, they're stronger than ever.
Oh, you do? Yeah,
I do.
Well, that's about it. That's about it for the interview. Is there anything that you feel I might have missed or that you'd like to add?
I've been pretty thorough. I don't think I've done anything wrong.
All right. Well, thanks, Sam.
Hey, you're well welcome.